What's worse than unhelpful friends? The ones who can't stay out of your business. Case in point, the United States of America. They specialize in unsolicited offers of help and advice. The latest is from Manipur. You've seen what's happening in the state. There is ethnic violence between two communities. Dozens of people have been killed. Many more have fled their homes. It's certainly a big problem, but it's India's problem. Apparently, the US ambassador did not get the memo. He was speaking in Kolkata last week. He said the US is willing to help if required. Listen to this.
We stand ready, willing, able to assist in any way if asked, but we know this is an Indian matter, and we pray for that peace, that it may come quickly.
Now, a couple of problems here. One, no one asked for American help. The local government and security agencies are on the job, so the situation should stabilize. And two, what sort of help is the ambassador talking about? The roots of Manipur's conflict go back centuries. It's a cocktail of multiple issues, of geography, of caste, of power. How could the US possibly understand it, let alone resolve it? It's like asking the English teacher to check the algebra papers. Both of them use the alphabet, but how they use it is very different. Also, don't see the ambassador's comments in isolation. On Sunday, a senior US diplomat landed in New Delhi. What's her mission? To discuss free speech and minority rights. In fact, let me quote from the State Department. The Undersecretary will engage with civil society organizations on freedom of expression and association and vulnerable groups, including marginalized religious and ethnic minorities. So basically, she'll meet a lot of people. Our question is why? And don't look at this as normal diplomatic or official engagement. Look at the optics of it. Just last month, Prime Minister Modi was in Washington. The US media kept talking about human rights and religious freedoms. Some of them called India a backsliding democracy. 2 weeks later, a US diplomat lands in New Delhi. Her job is all about human rights. Does that seem like a coincidence to you? Well, there is no such thing in politics. Until last week, another US diplomat was sweet-talking New Delhi, Kurt Campbell. He looks after Indo-Pacific affairs in the US National Security Council. He said the US has no business lecturing India. Listen to what he said.
Each of our countries is imperfect. I don't think the United States can or should be in a position where it lectures any other country.
All of this in 1 week. From no lecture to offering help to sending human rights officials. What exactly is the US trying to do? Well, nothing new actually. The US does not really believe in stable, committed relations. Their ex-diplomat Henry Kissinger said it best. Let me quote from what he said. To be America's enemy can be dangerous, but to be a friend is fatal. There are so many examples of this attitude, this use and throw behavior by the US. Just look at the last 3 years. Afghanistan's civilian government got a taste of it in 2021. France was on the receiving end with AUKUS, and Ukraine is still dancing to America's tunes. My point is, only one thing matters to Washington, their own interest. And I'm not saying other countries are different. Everyone works for national interest. But the US has a tendency to take you along for the ride, which is why India should be wary. The US ambassador's comments may sound innocent and helpful, just a concerned friend looking to make things right. But the US has never done so in the last 250 years, so why would they make an exception for India now? The fact is, Manipur is an internal issue. So are human rights and religious minorities. True friends accept and trust each other to handle their own affairs, which is why Indian diplomats do not talk about abortions in the US or the never-ending gun violence. Are they not serious problems? Yes, they are, but they're America's problems. Having said that, do you know what the irony is? These Western countries love to meddle when nobody asks them to. But when you actually need them to help you, they disappear. That's our next story. Our next story comes from the BBC. No documentary this time. They're dealing with another scandal. It involves one of their news presenters. Interestingly, he's not been named, but he's been suspended. What for? Soliciting explicit photos from a teenager. Apparently, this started 3 years ago. The teenager was 17 at the time. And this BBC presenter paid for their explicit photos. Guess when the BBC learned about it? Almost 2 months back. But it's only now, when the scandal has broken out, that they've suspended this presenter. Only after the news became public and pressure started coming in from all quarters. Here's a report.
The BBC is entangled in another scandal. This one is of its own making. It involves a star presenter and explicit photographs. Let's start with what we know so far. The British newspaper The Sun broke this story on Friday. It features a star presenter at the BBC. The charge is serious. The presenter asked for explicit pictures from a teenager. It began in 2020. The teenager was 17 years old. Now, in the UK, the age of consent is 16, but even then, it's illegal to make or possess explicit photos of someone who is under 18. So, if proven, this would be a crime. The Sun report said the victim was paid for the photos, almost $45,000 over a period of 3 years. And this money went into fueling a crack cocaine habit. This comes from the victim's family. They spoke to The Sun for this report. They say they wanted the payments to stop and that the victim had become a ghost of their former self due to the drug habit. That's not all. The presenter is also accused of stripping to his underwear while on a video call with the victim. When did the BBC learn about all this? On the 19th of May this year. The victim's family say they informed the British broadcaster, but the BBC did not do very much. For 2 months, they seem to have just sat on the accusations, which is why the BBC is under the spotlight now. It kept this presenter on air. The family said it was frustrating. The person they blamed for ruining their child's life was allowed to stay on air. Now that the scandal is out, the BBC has suspended the presenter, only after the story blew up. Which begs the question, what were they doing all this while? The BBC admitted it was aware of the allegations, but what they heard last week was of quote-unquote a different nature. A convenient excuse. Why didn't they go to the police? Even now, when they've heard allegations of a different nature, why not report the matter? The Metropolitan Police released a statement saying the Met has received initial contact from the BBC in relation to this matter, but no formal referral or allegation has been made. Meanwhile, the broadcaster is in crisis mode. The Sun published a follow-up report yesterday. It said the accused presenter called the victim and said, "What have you done?" He demanded that the family drop the case. Interestingly, the presenter's name has not been revealed thanks to the UK's privacy laws. Unless the person is arrested and charged, their name isn't made public. But a process of elimination has already begun. A bunch of male BBC presenters are saying it isn't them. And since the accused will be missing on TV, they can't remain anonymous for long. Meanwhile, politicians are coming down hard on the BBC. Financial Secretary Victoria Atkins called for swift action. And this is the sentiment across party lines.
It does call into question the ethics, the investigations, how long these things take. And the BBC, but also other broadcasters, do need to get a grip.
Get a grip is good advice. For once, the world is really watching the BBC and its next moves.
India is dealing with the fury of rains, especially parts of northern India. At least 28 people have died. The mountainous state of Himachal Pradesh is experiencing flash floods and landslides. Several parts have seen a month's worth of rainfall in a single day. The state has been put on red alert. And India's capital, New Delhi, has not seen rain like this in decades. Schools are shut in the national capital region. People have been advised to stay indoors in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. And more rains are expected in the coming week. Here's a report.
The rivers of northern India are full to the brim. They are sweeping away everything in their path. Cars, trucks, bridges, buildings. Nothing can withstand the fury of the rivers. Torrential rains over the last few days have led to flash floods in northern India. Himachal Pradesh, in particular, has been severely impacted. It has seen 13 flash floods, 14 landslides, 700 road closures, hundreds of people stranded. And the cutting of electricity and mobile services in several parts of the state. But it isn't just the mountains that are inundated. Most of northern India is reeling from the heavy rain. These are the fields of Punjab, India's breadbasket. The flooding is likely to lead to food supply problems in the near future. Cities are waterlogged. Schools and offices have been shut in the capital, Chandigarh. It's apparently one of India's smart cities. Not smart enough to deal with the heavy downpour, it seems. Then there's India's capital, New Delhi, the country's seat of power. Home to embassies and diplomatic missions from around the world. The venue of the upcoming G20 summit. This was its condition yesterday. The rain brought it to its knees. Now, of course, it wasn't an ordinary deluge. It broke a 41-year-old record for the highest rainfall in a 24-hour period. But does that excuse the poor management? Thousands were inconvenienced, and they expect better.
We're having many problems due to the rain. Several areas are waterlogged, and our cab also got stuck on the way. The government should pay attention to this issue because the monsoon season has arrived.
We just came out to have lunch over here, but look at the state of the water logging. I don't know what government is doing about this, and it's not a matter of only 1 year. This happens every year.
We are facing many challenges as the water is sometimes up to chest or waist level, and even if it rains a little, the area gets waterlogged.
The third person was from Gurugram or Gurgaon. It's a part of India's national capital region. It's also home to numerous multinationals. And he said he faced chest-high water, that the area gets waterlogged with just a bit of rain. How is that acceptable in India's capital region? Delhi and the surroundings have already seen more than twice the average amount of rainfall this monsoon, 112% more than the annual average, in fact, and that won't stop soon. In fact, moderate to heavy rains are expected all week. So will the people be forced to deal with absurd waterlogging every other day? There needs to be better planning. In the historically vulnerable hills and, of course, in the capital. Because if the seat of power gets crippled with every shower, how can India expect to be taken seriously when the world visits?
Now let's turn our attention to Thailand. It's home to over 70 million people. And now this Asian nation is facing a tea wave. No, not tea as in the drink, though Thailand is big on that as well. We are talking about a wave of pop culture, music, movies, TV series and idols. Some brand new, some recycled, and all of them inviting a flurry of fans from all over the world. We'll tell you why. Also discuss if the tea wave could turn the tide for K-pop, which currently dominates Asia's pop culture. Here's a report.
This is Lalisa Manobal, more popularly known as just Lisa. She is a world-renowned singer, part of the K-pop girl group Blackpink. K-pop is short for Korean pop music. It's the dominating leader of Asian music. But you don't need to be a K-pop fan to know Lisa. And here's a fun fact. This K-pop artist is a local talent from Thailand. A Thai singer who made her way to a larger stage in K-pop. Fascinating, but she's far from being the only one to do so. A growing number of Thai stars have been absorbed into K-pop, like rappers Bam Bam and Millie, and singer Minnie. But this trend belongs in the past. Today's picture of music looks a lot different in Thailand, as more and more Thai stars begin to find glory in their home country and take their music to the world stage.
We all have high expectations, but we want to bring out our T-pop music into the eye of the world to be like international and even though it's not that easy to go to that point, but we are trying to.
This is all thanks to the T-wave, meaning Thai pop culture. It includes music, movies, TV shows, and of course, idols, or celebrity singers and dancers. T-wave is taking over the world, one song and one show at a time.
We made a song that enhances more Thainess in our song. For example, in Lyra, we have added Thai instruments which are pin and can. That is a very traditional Thai instrument. So I think that it makes our music more visible for the international fans to realize that, oh, this is Thai song.
Question is, why is Thailand a popular music spot? Music in Thailand is less well known than K-pop, so it's far cheaper than in South Korea and automatically more accessible. Fans travel from across the world to attend concerts here, which is tourists coming from China, Malaysia and Singapore. But that's not all. Thai music is going global, with a large number of Western visitors. So far this year, the country has attracted over 12 million tourists. People aren't just coming to Thailand for Thai music, but other genres too. Fans attend K-pop concerts in Thailand because tickets are cheaper, as K-pop has become increasingly unaffordable. So, when BTS, the iconic K-pop band, performs in Thailand, this is the reaction.
I'm happy because BTS is my first K-pop group that I stand. Then being here, to be able to attend their my first K-pop concert here, I'm super happy.
But as we said, T-Wave is much more than music. It's the entire Thai pop culture that's trending. It showcases a mix of new and recycled content. Boys Over Flowers, Korean versus Thai remake. With some remakes of old TV series from other Asian countries and some newer, more modern themes, like the Thai genre Boys Love. It showcases handsome male leads in queer plotlines. In 2021, this industry secured over $10 million. But here's the golden question. Can the T-Wave meet the gold standard of K-pop, which has now given the world jaw-dropping choreographies, mega bands, and concerts that draw in millions of people every year? It's tough to say. T-Wave is definitely riding high, it has a vast talent pool, and content that's churned relentlessly. But it needs a bit more in this battle of bands against K-pop. Thailand needs to back this talent with money, and even embrace its ruthless commercialism. Because while T-Wave is fueled by talent, it also needs a winning formula to turn the tide against K-pop.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Starting with the UK, a woman threw orange confetti on former Chancellor George Osborne during his wedding. She was earlier thought to be associated with the group Just Stop Oil. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, 9 humanoid robots conducted a press conference. This happened for the first time ever. A reporter asked whether robots will replace humans in jobs, and a robot answered that their intention is to assist humans. In the US, divers dressed as mermaids to raise awareness on the preservation of the coral reef. And finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1940, the battle for Britain began. The Second World War was underway. German forces started attacking southern England. The Royal Air Force ultimately won this battle. We're leaving you with this. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
In these engagements, the barrage balloons fall somewhat frequent victims. HMS Exeter received the brunt of the battle. So battered was the Nazi raider that she fled for shelter into the neutral harbour. Now, just a few more wrecks of Nazi planes to show that we're keeping up the average. In the first year of this war, British pilots have brought down Hurricanes and Spitfires return to refuel and reload.
in the JAM galaxy band.
I think there should be global regulation of your capabilities.
I'm using this avatar for teaching the classes or giving lectures, and sometimes I'm using
Innovation Ambassador for the United Nations Development Programme. She's a humanoid robot that has gained...
Especially, for example, your existence will
provide assistance and support, and will not be replacing any...
I think my great moment will be when people realize that robots like me can be used.
Hi, this is Sarah Bangman. When you're up in the sky...